What's up, everybody? I'm Drake,
And I'm Christine,
and this is...
the Drake and Christine Show,
Oh, yeah.
episode 7.
Episode 7. Let's go. So, I remember about a year ago, around this time, maybe a little bit earlier, but around this time, I was picking you up from the airport, and you had a backpack and another bag.
No, yeah, like a suitcase and a backpack.
Suitcase and a backpack, yeah. And that was our first time meeting
In person.
And then I picked you up in my car, and I think we immediately went to go eat.
Yeah, I dropped off my stuff.
Yeah. And then we went to a restaurant, which I think now is like Michelin rated restaurant.
Michelin?
Yeah.
Sounded like you said Michelin.
Sometimes I say
I was
Mitchell.
like, Mitchell.
it's a Mitchell rated restaurant.
I'm like, I don't think we took Mitch and Jess there, but okay.
Yeah. Mitchell would rate it as a 10. Yeah.
I don't know if I trust Mitch's standards.
Yeah. Mitch
No
likes a lot of
offense,
things. But he eats at really good places sometimes. So But yeah, we ate at that restaurant, and then shortly after that, we started our relationship agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's more than a year later, we're married, and this has been the best relationship I've ever been in. And
Best and last.
well, I'm gonna have a relationship with our kids, like I'm gonna have.
Yeah, I mean like romantic.
Oh, romantic. You're cute. Yeah. And we were talking about how if it was up to our old programming, neither of us. Well, I definitely would not be in this
I
relationship.
think it would be more you.
I definitely would have exited the relationship already.
You would have sabotaged.
Abort.
Abort.
Yeah. No, but it's really cool because
You would have aborted the relationship.
I would have aborted the relationship. That's true. You're exactly correct. That's how all my past relationships were. Yeah. It's really cool because we started the relationship based on agreements, based on basically our purpose, like based in principles, based on creating a world that's best for all. And
but also just like, why are we together? Besides the fact that we like each other, but besides that, like, why are we actually together? Why do we want to be together? Why would it be a good idea for us to be together?
Right.
And do we agree on the same things of, okay, if we were to get married, what would that look like?
Yeah.
If we were to have kids, what's that going to look like? How are we going to raise our children? All that stuff. We got that out on the table, like, right from the get-go.
Right.
Which I've never done with anyone that I've been with in the past.
Right.
And
we did that because of, the purpose that we have, the tools that we use, Technitutor,
and
the group, Self-Perfected. And like, because of that, we were just like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. We started our relationship based on that. And I was noticing really quickly, like, because my past programming was to sabotage right away, I noticed really quickly within the first 2-3 months, I was not itching to get out of the relationship.
yeah.
I was just like, I actually like this relationship. This is amazing. And I was like,
Your mind is confused.
Yeah. I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like,
I actually can like this person?
right. Like, I'm not sick of her, and I'm not like trying to get out.
I had a similar experience in the sense of I wasn't, again, like, you know what? It was almost like I wasn't disappointed with who I ended up finding out who you were. Like, because in the beginning you have like that honeymoon phase.
Sure,
and you're
yeah.
on like your best behavior.
Yeah,
and like,
yeah.
you're very thoughtful and caring and considerate of the other person.
Right.
And then when reality sort of sets in, then you start seeing like people's true colors of, who they are, especially when you're like angry or upset or having a disagreement or something.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, oh, like you're not giving me that warm and fuzzy feeling I was feeling inside.
Yeah.
And then you start doubting, and because then you also just have no purpose in your relationship. It's just totally based on feelings and emotions. So then you're just trying to chase this feeling of, oh, like let's do this, let's do that, to gain and build up this feeling to then just for it to come back down, because you'll just run into another problem or another issue. And then it's just this like cycle of like trying to feel good, and then, oh, it just doesn't feel so good right now. And not to say that we don't like experience like challenges in our relationship, but it's not because we're trying to chase a feeling. It's more of just we're trying to level up in life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. Like, I think also you weren't disappointed because I started out just talking about poop, and I continued talking about poop.
Okay, for context, people, my background is in nutrition, so I'm very used to people telling me about their poops.
Also, for context, I think very early on there were some like calls that we were on where I would send you like a private chat. I'd make a poop joke because I was drinking a lot of kefir, and I was like, dude, my poops are amazing right now.
Yeah, you were telling me that, and I was like, yeah, I've heard kefir's good for that.
Yeah. I knew after that.
She was the one.
Hey, let's talk about that. Let's talk about like the one, because I think it's maybe more of a program for women, but also for guys as well. Like, is it the one?
It's definitely a program for both.
Yeah.
Just because you're so imposed through like movies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when I laid eyes on her, she was, I knew she was the one.
Honestly, when I saw you for the first time, I was like, oh yeah. Like, I need to message her. Like, that would be amazing if we could have a relationship together. But also, like, as a guy, like, I guess guys probably go through that a lot, where it's just like, wow, she's really attractive, Yeah. I don't know about necessarily feeling like the one, like I saw her and I knew I was gonna marry her.
Right.
But definitely, I was like definitely attracted. I was like,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
But it's interesting because I got to experience a lot of just being around Cameron and Katie, and the whole reason why I even like went to visit with them in person in the first place.
Yeah.
Was because I knew I wanted to have a family. But I also was aware that no one in my family had a working marriage, or a relationship that was still lasting, or anything like that. And I was just like curious, what does that even look like? And when I got to their home, it was beyond anything, because I'd seen like friends who had, their parents were together and things like that. But there would always be like some dysfunction going on in the family where the parents would argue, or, just weird shit like that.
Yeah.
That was considered normal. That I'm sure majority, if not all, relationships are like that. So when I went to their house for the first time, and I was just seeing how they were raising, it was just Max at that time. When I was seeing how they were raising Max, I was like, holy fuck, this is beyond anything I've ever seen. This is on next level. This is what I want. And Cam, over the years, Cam would make the point to me of like, it's not about like the feelings that you have for that person. It's about making a commitment, and making a commitment in principle, the principles of doing what's best for all, etc. And when you make that commitment and you actually show up for that commitment every day, then there's room for like love to be had.
Right.
And like you can actually trust each other and actually enjoy each other. And that's a lot of what we've experienced is like, remember how I was saying like in the beginning, I had to put into my technotator like, we're on the same team.
Yeah. Because
the initial programming within me is just like anytime like a challenge is brought to me by a woman, it's like, she's attacking me.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so
she's trying to control me. She's trying to
right.
Yeah.
But, working through that, and also the way that you've been so supportive and consistent over the time that we've been together, it's like, oh, it's allowed me to develop this trust with you.
Yeah.
And like, oh, I see you're consistent. I see you're willing to actually move yourself and grow, and you support me in immense ways, where it's just like, yeah, like, not to say, I'm trying to be really clear about it. We do have a lot of feelings for each other.
Yeah.
And we get to enjoy each other a lot.
Yeah.
But that's not the starting point.
Yeah. It's not the basis of like why we're together.
Right.
Like, just because you give me a feeling.
Right. And again, I was very attracted to you when I saw you. But still attracted. But yeah, I guess what I'm saying is like, it wasn't, oh, just because I'm attracted to you,
that's why I want to be with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was like you said, we went through, okay, why does this make sense?
Yeah. The long-term commitment of it. Yeah. And it's something that I definitely recognize coming into the Self-Perfected group, that relationships was something that was very valued.
Yeah.
In terms of like having a partner. I was gonna say romantic relationship, but it's that I just associate that with, your partner, where you have a relationship of someone that's committed to you, and then you can trust, and that you're actually gonna build a life together, right?
Yeah.
Because now just even before getting into this relationship, I was sort of on a strike, like a relationship strike, because I'd already been in like 3 considered long-term relationships. They were all over a year.
Yeah.
And I just kept running into the same point of, not being with anyone, being with a guy that was actually committed to creating the best life and working on themselves so that they wouldn't accept limitation. But then also I had a lot of stuff to work through as well. And just not being able to then direct that point, because we just had no purpose in our relationship or in our own lives. And it just always became this like sort of anchor or like struggle, right? Which then would then cause the relationship to fall apart. But then after, it's like over the last like, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 years, even the dating scene has really changed, in the sense that people are so caught up now in this like hookup culture.
Oh yeah.
Of, there's like, you just want to hook up with as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Or guys and girls just don't want to get emotionally invested, because no one wants to get their feelings hurt, but then they want the reward of the physical interaction with you.
Yeah.
So then no one's trusting of each other. No one wants to like go all in.
Yeah.
And it's created this really toxic environment where people are so now turned off by just relationships in general.
Yeah.
And then it's also being influenced and impulsed that you don't need that.
Yes.
Even though it's such a like inherent core, whether you're conscious of it or not, it's such a subconscious, unconscious desire of your programming to be in a relationship and even procreate or whatever. It's like you're always seeking that, because then you wouldn't even want to be in this like hookup culture anyways.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
So
it's such a good point, because like just that point of, okay, they're not getting fulfillment, or in our society today, you're not actually getting fulfillment from hookup culture.
Yeah.
And what you actually desire, whether you realize it or not, is a long-term stable relationship. But like what we're being impulsed with in our media and through society, etc., is that a long-term relationship is the culprit. That's the bad thing.
Right.
Stay away
and that's
from
what
that.
you want to avoid.
Yeah. It's a lot like a lot of other things, where it's like, oh, being what you are physically is the bad thing, or like that's abusive or some way, or like
you're like told to hate it. So
right.
You have to,
like,
so then you
like
can
look
identify as something different.
Right.
Yeah.
Look at that book, White Fragility. Right. Like, it's basically saying, because you're white, you are racist.
Oh.
So there's nothing you can do about it. So, just hate yourself for being a racist. And, it's just like, it's so backwards.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, that's what our society is kind of turning everything on its head in a negative way, in a bad way. And then people stay away from the things that they actually desire, and they don't get to the part of feeling fulfilled, of like knowing themselves. It's kind of like Cam was making that point on the podcast of like, you know, you don't have kids, and then like, what do you live for? Like, what do you do with your life? You know, you just kind of end up doing a bunch of things for your happiness, but it never fulfills you. Because you're just focused on yourself. And
who are you going to leave it behind for?
Right.
Like, you're just going to have all these experiences and memories and money, potentially if you have a business, and then it's just going to die with you. Like, no one's going to inherit that. So what was then the point of
it's interesting
creating that?
It's almost like some sort of like weird deception, where like the deception is you think, or society has told everybody to think, to just think of yourself, only yourself, and like as if you're gonna live forever, but you're not. And so like,
and it's not bad to think about yourself.
I'm saying only yourself.
Right?
Like the reality is, if everyone else around you died, was non-existent, and you just were the only person here on earth, it would be boring. It would be so boring. Like I remember when I was a kid, and maybe other people don't have this experience, but when I was a kid, there were these video games that one of my cousins had, and I would play with this cousin, and I got really into this one game, and we would take turns, and I was like, man, this game is so much fucking fun. And then one day my cousin wasn't there, or maybe a few days, my cousin wasn't there, and I started playing that game myself, and I was just like, yes, he's not here. I get it all to myself. I don't have to share with him. And it quickly became something where I was just like, oh,
this is boring.
This is boring as fuck. Like, this is so boring. Like, I don't want to play this game anymore. And the fun aspect of it was the sharing, was the like, oh, okay, like
doing this with somebody.
I get to see you do it, and then I do it, and then like I'm trying to do better than him, and etc. And this was like before, you know, you could play games online with someone else, or at least before I was doing that anyway. And so I realized then, like, I don't actually like this game. I just like playing with somebody else, you know? And that's really what the world that we live in, society that we live in, is like, you would be so fucking bored. You know, like, I've talked to people who, you know, they lie to themselves, and they're like, no, that would be ideal. Like, you would be so fucking, you don't like yourself. You know you don't like yourself. Like, 99.999% of people, I'm leaving like 1%. But even then, like, you can't possibly...
They don't like themselves?
Don't like themselves.
What do you mean?
What do I mean by that?
What is the significance of that? Like,
okay,
in terms of if no one was here?
Oh, that you would go fucking crazy being with yourself only. Like, you don't even take account of all the thoughts that come into your mind, where they come from, all these things, where it's just like, you are not actually taking responsibility for yourself, is what I mean by that. That's why I'm saying, like, you know, those people who say they would rather be alone or whatever, no, because just by saying that, you're showing you're not taking responsibility for yourself or for this world or anything like that. And I know we started out talking about relationships. I'm going to get back to that. But the point is, the reason why we got into this relationship is so that we can actually make a difference in this world. So we can live to the fullest potential that we have within ourselves. Because, you know, we both independently looked at the situation of this world and saw, you had this realization really early on in your life. Where you're like, hey, the world is fucked. And, you know, the way that I've been raised has not been supportive for me at all. Like, for your health and all that, right? And I had this realization as well for myself. And then we both found Techno-Tutor, Self-Perfected, the people within our community, ourselves on our own. And then both had the realization of like, oh, this makes sense. Like, let's do something about it.
Yeah. But
You
because
know?
we actually have a real solution, right?
Right.
And also
Because it wasn't like you didn't want to do something about it before. You were looking for something.
Yeah, it was just like, how do you go about that? And
Right.
as well, with all the instability in the world, with just within people's own lives or personal health and mental health and emotional stability, and then also within relationships, like everything is just in shambles,
Right.
basically. There's no stability, there's no structure anymore. So even finding solutions, it's just like, well, man, I gotta help myself first before I can think about, you know, the bigger problems with this world.
Yeah.
But it's like this very interdependent and codependent relationship of how that change is actually gonna happen.
People get really caught up in that, like, I have to help myself first, and then they end up just seeking their own happiness.
Yeah.
Which is such a, like, it's a psyop, you know, like they say, like, that's how you get super distracted.
Yeah.
Because you're not actually focused on the relationships that you're having.
Yeah. Like if you were because to be truly happy, like everyone in this world has to be considered.
Right.
And that's what people don't want to, like, it's like, I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
Because that's just too big of an idea to even conceptualize and to actually, you know, make real.
It's interesting because, you know, I made that joke in the beginning of like, yeah, you know, I'm going to have a relationship with our kids. But really, the whole point is like the relationships that you have with everyone around you and how you're actually treating those relationships. And it's not just about the relationships that you have with your partner, but with your children and the people that you interact with, but also the relationship that you have with yourself and all the memories and thoughts and everything that is going on within your mind.
Yeah.
You know, all that plays a part in how this world is playing out.
Yeah.
And so it's so cool that we have this relationship.
Yeah.
And support each other with this understanding.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, like, I mean, compared to past relationships and things like that, like, how would you, I guess, describe this relationship? What's different about it?
I mean, pretty much everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I would say but I would say the biggest difference is probably the purpose point.
Yeah.
Where like we actually have real purpose within our relationship, like I said, why we're together, what we want to create together, right? What we want to build together.
Yeah.
And with that, it's like that saying where like if you know the starting point, you know the end point. It's like we have a direction of where we're headed.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not just like, oh, we're just trying to get through the day to day, and maybe one day we'll like get the house of our dreams and all this stuff. And it's just this like far out there idea.
Yeah.
And you never actually like, okay, no, but how do I practically get there? How can we practically get there? Like, how much money do we have to make? How much, when can we start considering, having children? Like, when does that make sense? Okay, because we were living in a really small apartment before, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not a place where we can raise kids.
Right.
Like, just thinking about actually practically, like, what does that look like, and planning out, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And getting that sort of momentum. But whereas like before, it would just be like, oh, now we're just together and we're just gonna have experiences to, feel good sometimes,
right.
And then we just kind of, and then also like having this point of having purpose together. Whereas like I always even just imagined that, oh, I would be like a mom and career woman, where I would just be running my own business, so to speak, and then raising kids, and then my husband would have his own business or job or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we come together sometimes as a family, and
you
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like now with what we're doing, we're very like involved in, because we have adopted the same purpose, we're working towards the same goal, so it's like everything we're doing is intersected. Versus like I said before, it's like, and a lot of relationships you see now, it's like everyone's just kind of doing their own thing, and then it's like on the weekends and evenings, like maybe we come together and we have dinner together, or we like go do something fun together.
It's so interesting that you bring that up, because like for me, for sure, I would have been like, I was telling other people this, like, no, I'll raise my kid on my own, and the woman will be somewhere, the mother will be somewhere, but
she's not
but she's not going to be in the, like, well, not with me. That's not gonna work out. Yeah. But obviously that's changed, right?
Yeah.
Because like we're making decisions based on, hey, what's actually going to be best for our children?
Yeah.
What's actually going to be best for all of us for the future? And
for our family versus like
yeah. And the cool part that I see as well is not just the purpose, but also that we have the tools to actually continuously grow.
Yeah.
Which is so huge because the purpose is big, and also like, some people I can see they have a purpose, which I don't consider a purpose. They have, their own like, their purpose is to be happy, which is not a purpose, at all.
That should be a symptom like of your purpose.
Exactly. That should be like the result of your purpose is that you are happy.
Yeah.
But these people, they're like, oh, well, just so long as the other person also wants for both of us to be happy, then we'll be good. And it's like, no, that's how you drift apart. That's how like, it's not going to work out.
It's so true. Yeah. You end up creating this like distance and resentment.
Because the moment something happens where it's like, it didn't go exactly how you thought in your mind, you start thinking like, well, why didn't they do this? And then like, oh, well, maybe it's not as perfect as I thought. And then like you start having those doubts, and those doubts get bigger and bigger and bigger. It creates a wedge between you and that other person. You're not even in the same room when you're in the same room.
Yeah.
True. And so it's cool. Our purpose is an actual real physical purpose, and we have the tools to help us level up to get there and grow
and level
ourselves
up together.
Yeah.
Not just, one person's working on themselves and the other person.
Huge point. Because in so many relationships, there's one person who's like, okay, I'm going to get better. And the other person's like, okay, good for you. Like,
like I'll support you or whatever. But then they don't change.
And then when they don't change, it's like, you've got a difference of people here now.
Yeah.
And one person always resents the other for either not supporting them to change as well, or for not making the change with them.
Yeah.
And so, I love just where we've gotten to today, because we've grown so much. Just a few things that we've grown. We've gotten to a much bigger place. Right.
Got this couch.
This massive couch.
This is how you know it's real. We get a couch together. We invested in a couch.
That's right. We got 2 new cars in the last year. Nice cars. Big upgrades with those.
I definitely upgraded my car from before. And you definitely upgraded your car.
Yeah. And what else? I mean, like, like this relationship, we're married.
Yeah. That's the main point.
Oops. Yeah.
We got married within the last year. Yeah.
And everything that we're doing is just, it's a lot of fun. We have a cool community here. We built a little community here where people come regularly and we talk about things like this, and we're growing that community week by week. And actually supporting people here locally. This is so much fun. Because of what we're doing. It's actually supporting the people around us. And, we're seeing incremental growths, but like, it's like, I can already see in just a few short years, the impact that it's going to have just in this area. Like, sometimes when you say community, or when I say community, sometimes people think like just like a small little get together or something like that. I mean, no, like the whole, like not just neighborhood, the whole city is in a few short years, we're going to see a massive impact in this city. And we can see the steps along the way. Just like I saw the steps along the way of how I changed my relationship with my mother, with women, and that got to this relationship. And just how I see the steps along the way of like parents who have techno-tutor and they're using it with their kids. And like, it's like, oh, all of a sudden, a couple years later, the kid's doing all these amazing things like reading and like putting together circuits and, making projects themselves, like self-initiated, playing instruments, all these sorts of things. And, if you were to just be on the outside looking at it, you'd go, wow, you got a genius kid. And like, that just happened overnight. Like, no, there's incremental steps all along the way. and we have the blueprint of it. It's like, it's obvious actually.
Yeah.
But so many people are not experiencing that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's cool because, again, we've seen the incremental steps within us, and I can see projected forward where this is going because we're seeing the fruits of it already.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Who knows what furniture we'll have in the next 3 years? Kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cute. So, did you have any other points that you wanted to bring up?
No, I think that's good. You know, this is what we're here to also influence and inspire in others, because like how valuable relationships just are.
Yeah.
Having a stable relationship, I know I was fortunate to see that in my household, and then I know for you it came from seeing other people being able to have to create this sort of relationship, right? Just having like two people in the home, right?
Yeah.
And just seeing now the influence of how that's affecting just society in general, of not valuing this very like core part of who we are just as humans, of having like just a stable home structure with two parents, you know, raising their kids and actually supporting them to be the most effective.
Yeah.
Right. And this is what we want, like you said, for our community, and to bring this out to other people. Like, this is possible.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to just go along with what everyone else is doing and think that, oh, it's not going to work out for me, or have you seen what it's like out there with the dating scene and all this stuff? Like, no one's actually looking for any of this stuff. It's like, well, no, we actually have a real community on Facebook that we meet every Friday to share about stuff like this and to get people to connect and meet. Like, we met literally through this group.
Yeah.
Right? That's how we even got together.
And we're not even the only ones. There's like 12 people over the last year.
Yeah.
Who've had the same experience.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So it's like, no, like there are people that do see the value of this, because when you get these core sort of structures within your life, right, of finding that partner that then you're going to stay with and build your life with, it's like then you can actually start living your life to create and focus on other things versus always just seeking this like fulfillment of, you know, like love and money, basically, because that's all just what's inherently all driving us, right? It's either sex or money, right? But when you have the sex and the love point sort of like locked down, right? And I use love like, you know, loosely in the sense of like not like a feeling, but like you have that stability,
everything that you want from love, like
right? Exactly. Then you can actually then focus on the money point and all the other things that you want to create in your
100%,
life, right?
100%. Like, guys, if you're out there chasing women, like all the mental resources and energy that you could be devoting towards building a business is going out the door because your attention is split.
You're literally going out the door.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going out the door looking for women, and that's like slowing you down.
Right.
You know? But if you're tired of hookup culture, you want to actually have a real relationship, you want to actually like enjoy your life, you want to actually enjoy your friends and your family, and like have real conversations with people as opposed to just living the surface level, like going along with things that you don't actually give a fuck about. Like, reach out, go into the description of this video, send me a message. We can make that happen.
Yeah. Exactly. And if you want, you know, support with just how do I even start a relationship? How do I have to look at, you know, what do I have to look at for myself to develop the person who I need to be to have that, right? You're really good at that because you got this relationship. And I know for myself, like, again, it was just something that was more obvious to me, but I also had to work through a lot of just this sort of programming, which actually we can talk about in another episode, you know, like how we're sort of programmed as men and women to think a certain way that's not actually supportive and what's best.
Oh, okay.
You know,
I like that.
independent women stuff.
I like
what do you
that.
think?
Yeah.
So anyways, case in point, we will catch you in the next
in the next podcast. See ya.
Bye.